Kate Waterfall Hill, welcome to CamTalks.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you very much for coming. It has been a bit of a windy night.
It has. We have had a major, major storm, and I was very pleased that I only live next door, so I didn't have far to come.
Absolutely. No. But obviously in between that walk, you did see some broken bits
There's a
and
little bit
pieces.
of debris in our garden. Yes, our neighbour's gym roof is in our garden at the moment, but he's very kindly tidying it up as we speak.
I love the fact that, on a little island like this is such a big event.
Yes.
It's such a big event. Everyone's out this
Yeah.
morning walking dogs and,
Yeah.
telling stories. I think we probably got it a little bit easier than the Guernsey people.
I think so. Yeah.
Some of the devastation over there is pretty bad.
Yeah.
But Kate, your story around Alderney starts a very long time ago, right? You've been coming here.
Are you trying to say I'm old?
No, I would never suggest that.
Yeah.
But you've grown up, on this island, and am I correct in saying that you were born in the UK,
Yeah.
but came here a lot as a kid,
Yeah.
basically like me then.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah, but for longer ago, yeah. My mum and dad moved here in 1970, and I was one, I think, one and a bit, and then they sadly split up. My mum and I and my next brother up from me went back to the UK, but my dad stayed here with my stepmum, Jill.
Ah,
Yeah.
interesting. And what was it like as a kid coming to Alderney? I mean,
Oh, well, crazy. Like it still is. Just lovely to have some freedom. And, our parents used to go, they used to go for the people who are a bit older than you, they will remember the Albert of old with Drew and Sybil McQueen. And my mum and dad used to go there and have boozy nights and leave us in the house on our own because it was okay to do that then.
yeah.
And I remember us getting a bit scared because there was a chap called, everyone nicknamed him Brainy Herrival, who was a sort of a character, shall we say. I don't want to be rude about anybody, but we were a bit scared of him, and he was outside the house, and we had to ring the Albert and say, "Can you come home?" Because we were scared about that. But that's the only sort of eventful thing I can remember from when I was really, really young. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
What was the Albert like back then? Because
Oh,
obviously I do remember, it was still open when I was just about in my teens, but then obviously it
yeah,
closed.
yes.
But we all know what pubs are what these days. But what was the pub landscape like on Alderney back
Well,
then?
yeah. Well, I think I remember Mum and Dad saying that they would have great nights with Drew and Sybil, and that they would have. I think they would have lobster and crab and things like that, and I think that was like the amazing thing. So it's amazing food, and just just sort of homespun stuff. So yeah, all wholesome
Wow.
but fun.
So I guess at the age that you were going into the pubs, which was
Oh,
your pub of choice?
yeah, the Albert, because I worked in the Albert for a spell. So did my sister Sarah. She worked there when I was young, and I also worked in the Chaise. We didn't really go to the Georgian. The Georgian was seen as the sort of the old people's pub then, and now I'm the old people and I go to the Georgian.
Oh my lord. Well,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean that's fine. Things
yeah,
obviously move on. I
yeah,
mean, I remember going to the divers as like a
yeah,
14, 15-year-old kid and getting
yeah.
getting served a pint. I,
Yes.
I used to
Oh,
think
the
this was
Bellevue,
amazing.
the Bellevue, of
Oh,
course. We used to go to the Bellevue. I had my first vodka and orange in the Bellevue when I was probably about 14. And somebody called Cameron bought it for me, Cameron Fielding.
wow,
Yeah,
there you go. Thank
there
you,
you go.
Cameron Fielding. I
Yeah,
think you got her on the right track. I
yeah,
used to love the
yeah.
didn't know that they had money stuck to the was it stuck to
Yes.
the roof or something?
Yeah, that does ring a faint
Um
bell. I just remember chicken in a basket and thinking that it was the most amazing thing ever to have food in a basket. Why was that okay? Why was that a good idea?
I think back then probably it was quite innovative.
Yeah,
It was an American thing,
yeah,
right? It's like
yeah,
just give them a basket of chicken.
yeah,
But this is what I love is that Alderney is a little bit behind the times,
yeah,
but
yeah,
eventually
yeah,
it gets
yeah,
some good things.
yeah.
And with everything that gets bad, there will be sort of good things happening.
Yes.
But I mean, what's your best memories sort of growing up here?
I think just going to the beach, just loving going to the beach all the time. And Corblets was my favourite when we were young. And I remember Dad and Jill. So Dad had various different careers. This is Ian Waterfall I'm talking about.
The
And he,
famous Ian Waterfall.
well, I don't know, is he famous? I used to think he was.
It was definitely a famous name on the island,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. I remember the first time I ever met Kevin Dippo, who ended up being a love interest for many years of mine. And we met, I was about 12, and we met in the Corblet sort of car park thing. And I was going round and round on my bike. He was waiting for the bus. And I was sort of a bit flirty with him. And he said, "Who are you?" And I said, "I'm Ian Waterfall's daughter." And he went, "Who's that?" And I was completely crushed. I thought my
Ah.
dad was like, the best thing ever.
Wow.
But yeah, he didn't know who he was.
So
Um,
what was your dad doing here, I guess? I mean, how did
well,
he first come to Alderney?
Well, he had lots of different businesses in the UK that went up and down all the time, and he did well and had enough money to be able to fly a plane. So he flew here in 1970. I think largely motivated by the tax breaks, if I'm honest. That's probably what got him here in the first place. Decided to move here, bought what is now called the Vines, which was John Arlott's house, and he bought it for £32,000,
Oh my lord.
and it's been on the market for 1.7 million or something recently.
Oh,
So I don't know how much they actually bought it for, but that's what it was on at Bell and
it's a
Co. I
beautiful
saw with
house.
interest. It is a
It
beautiful
looks
house.
a bit like the White House
Yeah,
everywhere when I go
yes,
past
it
it.
is.
I'm like,
It is.
someone important must live there.
Yeah, it is quite regal.
30,
Yeah.
32,000.
32,000, yeah, he bought it cash as well. And in those days, it had a swimming pool. I don't think it does anymore. And the left-hand side of it, which John Arlott bricked up because he had his wine in there, and he didn't, or books. Anyway, he didn't want sunlight in there.
Both is important.
We yeah, exactly. We had glass down both sides, I remember, and that was where the kitchen was, a massive, great big kitchen.
Wow. So
So,
that's
but
where
it's not there anymore. The kitchen's on
you'd
the other side
spend your
now.
childhood.
Yeah, yeah. So
Wow.
it was a amazing place. And then yeah, sadly, mum and dad split up in I think 74, and then dad married Jill really quickly after that. So Jill was in my life for most. I don't remember life without Jill. And so my summer holidays here, Jill would be working at Reynard's, and she had I think in the end had a 50% stake in Reynard's with Ian Reynard, the original owner. Dad had St Anne's House, which is where Sarah, my sister, has her shop, and she owns the block now with all the offices and Jacks in it and all that sort of stuff. Um, and so he was working there in an office. So they would go there in the mornings, and we would be left to our own devices. So my brother and I was about 8 at the time, and he was 5 years older. He would go off on his motorbike and what have you, and I'd be sort of stuck in the house on my own. So before work, sometimes Jill used to say, "Let's go to Corblett's for breakfast." And this was one of my favourite memories, that we used to get to Corblett's at sort of, I don't know, 8 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning, with bacon butties wrapped up in foil. And the gulls would come and visit us and everything, and we'd be the first people there on the beach. And that's one of my favourite memories. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
I love that. And would you say that Corbett's is your favorite beach, or do you have
Nowadays, probably not actually. No, I
bit
probably
too rough in
probably
it?
so, yeah. I'm not really into the surfing anymore. Not that I surfed standing up, obviously, but just bodyboarding. But yeah, I probably favour Longi and Soy now. I think there's those two, depending on which way the wind's blowing, obviously.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I think soy is definitely in my heart.
Yeah,
It's just something about it, isn't
it's
it?
beautiful, isn't it?
I'm a bit annoyed though, because sometimes you go on the beach and there's loads of seaweed. And
Yeah,
I don't know what it is,
yeah.
and I don't even know if you're allowed to move seaweed from a beach, but in my head I'm like, "Can we move this?"
What do you think? Got some private island somewhere?
I know, yeah, right. Yeah, if I was on Necker Island
Yeah,
with Richard
exactly.
Branson, he's like, "Why
Yeah,
is there seaweed here?"
yeah.
You
You'd
know.
command some sort of tractor and get
Exactly.
it sorted.
But I'm sure it's good, and I'm sure the seals love it and the fish like it
Yeah,
and stuff like that. I mean,
yeah,
that's what this island's really good for, isn't it? Like
yeah.
the natural beauty here.
Amazing.
I don't
Yeah.
really appreciate it that much. I got to be honest with you. Like
Oh, yeah,
I'm too busy trying to, do techie stuff
yeah.
that, when I'm outside, I'm like, God, I just want to get home and get on my computer. Is it?
You're very young, maybe you need to get a bit older. But I remember going to Cornwall. I don't think I'd been much as a child, and I think I went to as an adult, sort of in my 40s maybe. And I thought, oh gosh, Cornwall's quite like Alderney. The similar sort of landscape, the colours of the cliffs and the white sandy beaches. And then we had to go in a car to get anywhere. Then we got stuck in traffic going somewhere. Then we had to pay for a car park to go to the beach. I
Oh,
was
good
like,
Lord.
give me Alderney any day. And I didn't, that really made me appreciate Alderney all the more, because everyone says, "Oh, Cornwall's lovely," and it is, but it's not a patch on Alderney.
No, I
Yeah,
bet. Well, I mean, I also imagine that your dad also liked it for those reasons, as well as
yeah,
obviously, being a business friendly island at the
yeah,
time.
sure.
But yeah, so when you were growing up, I mean, what was your dad doing? Was he
Yeah, well,
still running his businesses? Did
yeah,
he get involved in the island?
we did used to nickname him Arthur Daly a little tiny bit, because he had lots of fingers and lots of pies. So he had a Channel Fine Art Guild, I think it was called. It was basically some prints of Alderney that he reproduced and literally stuck into these sort of rather nasty frames, sold them at a profit. So they weren't dodgy dealings, I wouldn't say, like Arthur Daly, or actually maybe. Rodney from Only Fools and Horses. Not Rodney, the other
Del
one.
Boy.
Del Boy. That's
Del
it.
Boy.
Del Boy. That's a better one from Only Fools and Horses, but not as dodgy as him. But his main
Wow.
business originally was commodity broking, so he would buy tin and corn and things like that and sell them on the markets. And then and then he had the property. So he went into business in, I think, in the mid 70s with Peter Jenkins, so Bonnie and what's her sister called? Sammy Jenkins's dad. And they went into business together, and they had a building company called Watkins. So Peter Jenkins was the skilled person. My dad was the labourer. Basically, he didn't know how to do anything. And now he was in his 40s, a bit overweight, divorced, money was tight. And so he was just there literally, mixing up cement and grouting
Wow.
and stuff. And then they employed, oh God, what was his name? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Another chap. Oh, it's going to come to me in a minute.
Of course it will.
And then Dad was elevated to, bookkeeper and Tyler, sort of thing at the time. And then by the time that, about a year later, they had 15 or so people, and they ended up building St Anne's House. So,
Wow.
which is where Jack's and Reynard's and Sarah's shop is. Yeah.
It's amazing because obviously if you've come to Alderney from the outside world and you've got all these businesses and ideas and stuff,
Yeah.
there's not actually a lot getting in your way once you're here to go and start a business and
Yeah.
little side hustles. And
Yeah.
I'm glad to know that he was selling artwork,
Yeah. Yeah.
with Alderney on it. Because I think we're all
Yeah.
very proud Alderney people, aren't we?
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
and we know that there's locals and grockles and whatever, but the
Yeah.
outside world just looks at you all as
Yeah.
nutters on an island.
Yeah.
So like the
Absolutely.
fact that we're all very proud
Yeah.
about it, I think is amazing,
Yeah.
really.
And I think probably even more so now we've got the technology, and we've got online working and Zoom and all the rest of it, and this sort of stuff going on the island. There's nothing stopping anyone earning money here if you have that creative idea or that business spirit, that entrepreneurial spirit that my dad certainly had and I've luckily inherited.
You absolutely have. Well, I want to talk about this because you are the biggest influencer on this island.
Oh,
No, but I mean,
no.
genuinely, I mean, I don't know if there's anyone else on social media. You have what, 150,000 followers on TikTok, 77,000 followers on Facebook and Instagram. That is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, compared to the 2,000 people on a rock,
Yeah.
I mean, you have an online audience that is absolutely massive.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit about how and why you decided to use social media to do this?
Sure. So I started out working for Marcus Robertson, who is Elizabeth Beresford's son.
Oh,
From university, I did a business degree, and he took me on as a intern, effectively an account exec in his marketing agency, and I ended up being managing director of it by the time I was 29. So you're older than
I'm
that, aren't you? So
33.
you really
Yes,
got to get on with it.
I have
You
to.
should be
I
a man.
have to hurry up.
Yes, you got to be a managing director by now. And So and then I got married and had kids, and I wanted to work part-time, and being a part-time managing director wasn't going to work. So I left there in 2007, started up on my own. So I've had my own business since 2007, and then more recently I decided to pivot to coaching. So I was working with small businesses, being a management consultant, advisor type thing, and then I decided to concentrate on the coaching because that's what I really love doing. And coaching is a quite populated space. There's quite a lot of us, and so trying to make a difference and stand out is important. And by chance, I stumbled across this idea of doing skits rather than doing straight talking, which I had been doing for a while, Instagram reels saying, if you want to be a better leader, do these 3 things. And that wasn't really getting much traction. And then in fact, my character, Linda the Bad Manager, is going to be 3 this weekend.
No
Yeah, it's her
way.
3rd birthday
Wow.
this weekend.
This is an alter ego that I imagine came from personal experiences.
Yes, in actual fact, I'd been coaching somebody about a week before, and she said to me, she was really frustrated. So I asked people at the beginning of a one-to-one coaching session, "What's the challenge? What would you like to tackle today?" And she said, "Well, I've got this member of staff. It's really winding me up. She's really underperforming." I said, "Okay, can you explain a bit more?" She said, "Well, she comes into the office 20 past 9." And there's no apology. There's nothing happens. She just sits down and gets on with her work. And I said, "Well, so what time's she supposed to start?" "Well, 9 o'clock." And I said, "Well, what happens when she comes in?" "Well, she just sits down." I said, "Yeah, no, no. When I said what happens, I mean, what do you say?" And she said, "Oh, nothing. No, no, that would be awkward." And I just thought, oh, wow, wow. And there are so many people who feel like that, who don't want to give people feedback. on something that's quite factual. You know, you're supposed to be in at 9 and you're in at 9:20. It's
It's not
not,
huge.
yeah, and it's not personal. It's not
Yeah.
saying, you know, you smell.
And
It's
and is it
saying,
performance related?
well, I mean, it just annoyed her that she
Annoyed
wasn't
her?
there for the morning meeting, and so everyone else was having to wait
I
for the woman to
see, I
come in.
see, I
But she
see.
didn't say anything.
Of course.
So this woman doesn't know. So it's a bit like if you went out for lunch with a mate and as you were leaving and they said, "Oh, I'm just going out on a date later," or "I've got an interview," and they had spinach on their teeth. I'd hope you'd be a friend enough to say, "Hey mate, you've got spinach on your teeth." You can say it
Of
kindly,
course, yeah,
and
yeah.
they would be maybe momentarily embarrassed, but then they'd go, "Oh, thanks. Oh my goodness, can you imagine if I'd gone on that date with spinach on my teeth or went for that interview?" And
Interesting.
to me, feedback's the same. So, so it surprised me that she said, "I haven't said anything," but I realised that there are lots of people in the same boat who don't want to give feedback because they think it's going to upset the other person, it's going to be awkward, what have you. And so I did my first skit on that. Linda's talking off camera, talking off camera, and she says exactly that. You know, "Oh, I've got this person coming in late all the time. Do I say anything?" "Oh no, no, I just quiet." That's I remember the punchline was I quietly rage behind her back, and that was it. And it was a 30-second skit, and that first one went bonkers. And I
Really?
thought, well, I had been in marketing, so I know you have to be consistent. I know consistency is key.
But
You need
number
to show
one
up
did
every
it.
day. And I thought, right, I'm going to do one every day, and I did one every day for 18 months. Yeah,
Fantastic.
and I don't do them every day now because I don't need to. But
Because this is really important, isn't it? Because you know, from a marketing point of view, obviously so much has changed over the years,
yeah,
but it's very important to know that actually that didn't cost any money, did it?
no,
Nothing.
just a bit of initiative, bit of creativity, and also a bit of nerve, I suppose. You
Bit
know,
of nerve.
because you know, lots of people say to me, like my sister, for instance, who's a natural, not an introvert particularly, but she doesn't show off like I do. I'm a show off, and she's
Yeah.
not. She was like, why would you want to do that? Why would you put yourself on social media?" And I'm like, why not?
Same with me and my sister, really.
Yeah,
I
same,
don't think
same.
she could think of anything worse.
No, I
But
know.
so the results of that first video, I mean, in terms of numbers and opportunities, what
Yeah.
happened?
Well, literally that first week, I had 2 emails from, 2 men, one who was an entrepreneur, multiple businesses, multi-million multimillionaire, I suppose you would say, and another one was a very senior man in the NHS who was 50% of the time he was a surgeon, and the other half the time he was the clinical lead for an IT transformation project. And both of them said, "Saw your video, loved it, laughed. Please, will you coach me?" I mean, literally, they were begging me to coach them, both of them, in that first week. And I thought, "Ha, I'm onto something here." So I think the train of thought goes, "Oh, that's funny." So a little smile, then a little cringe, maybe because it's some of the skits are a bit awkward, a bit close to the bone sometimes, and then a nod of recognition. "Oh, I'm a bit like Linda sometimes. Maybe this woman can help me, and maybe it'll be fun." And I think that's the pivotal difference between a lot of coaches who do it very seriously, and it's a serious business, being in business and being a leader. But you can have fun while you're doing it. In my book, and it can be engaging and enlightening as well.
I love
Yeah.
that. And I'm sure this isn't true, but that first person who inspired you, her name's not Linda, is it?
No. No, no, and the reason I chose Linda was because I personally don't know anyone called Linda, and I don't work with anyone called Linda. And then I realised I do know Linda because there's Linda Rose over here, and I do know her. And
Oh.
we were when we were kids, we were friends, and I think she and my brother had a bit of a crush on each other at the time when we were about 15 or something. And so when I see her sometimes, I think, "Oh, I'm
Oh, bless. Well, no,
sorry."
hey, it happens a lot. I
Yeah.
mean, at least it's not become a Karen, right? You
No,
know,
I
like
know.
these
No.
online
Yeah.
people that moan, it's like,
Uh,
she must be called Karen.
yeah, I
And you're
know.
like, oh, poor Karen's out
I
there.
know, I know. I've got a really good friend called Karen, so I couldn't call my character Karen, and I do feel sorry for her. Yeah, it's
It's
not.
very
Yeah,
frustrating, isn't
yeah.
it?
Lots of people call me Karen on the videos. They say, "Oh, you're such a Karen." Yeah, yeah,
Really interesting. That kind of engagement, though. I mean, like what was? I mean, obviously, it translates into real clients for
yeah,
you.
yeah,
But this is a global audience, right?
yeah,
People from everywhere around the world can now see you
yeah,
and your story. And I'm a bit jealous because if that was your first video, you're like,
yeah,
that's amazing. That you
yeah.
managed to, I guess, hit the pain points
Yes,
that other people are thinking the same thing. So
sure.
how now do you make your videos? I mean, knowing what you know now, how many videos have you produced in terms of the short
Oh,
skits?
goodness me. I'm gonna guess at
Hundreds now, right?
thousands.
Thousands.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
amazing. So what have you
yeah.
learned about producing content, putting it online, and measuring results?
Ah, that's a really good question. I think it's really hard to predict what's going to go well and what isn't. Some of the skits I make. I mean, I'm not a natural comedian, because somebody actually introduced me as a comedian at an event that I was speaking at, and I was like, no, 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 because I'm not going to do stand up. Um, so I'm not a natural comedian. I know I'm not because I laugh too much at my own jokes.
I love
So
that.
I think real comedians don't laugh at their own jokes, do they? But I can scroll on my own stuff and be like, but some of the stuff I find really funny doesn't work. And some of the stuff that I think, okay, this is a really good leadership message, that sometimes works and sometimes it doesn't. So it's really difficult to predict. And I think probably what I've learned is you just got to keep going,
Mm,
and you've got to iterate and have another go at it, and then and keep going, and keep being consistent and keep showing up. But I suppose the main thing that I've noticed between doing the reels when I started working as a coach, which were sort of straight to camera sort of type stuff, versus the stuff that's funny, is that the humor hits. It's like humor, music, sport, those things that get people in their heart and actually resonate with people, and they can sort of see potentially themselves in it, but also they pass it on. I mean, I
mhm.
get lots of people saying, "Oh, I followed you because my mate sent me your stuff, or my colleague, or my HR manager sent me." That's what quite often happens, is that other people send the stuff on, and I get lots and lots of reposts as well.
It's absolutely amazing because
Yeah,
this is modern marketing 101
yeah,
basically.
yeah,
Make as many viral attempts as possible as a lead magnet, try
yeah,
and drag people into your digital ecosystem.
yeah.
And then you've got a huge YouTube channel with like long form, really good, solid advice stuff. This isn't
Yeah.
Linda anymore. This is
Oh,
this is
yeah,
Kate.
yeah.
And that's what I find fascinating. And I'll be honest with you, now that AI is around, now I'm transcribing all your videos and saying, what is she saying in all those videos? But
Yeah,
it's funny because that's like the modern way of doing it.
sure.
But you were a managing director of a marketing agency when SEO and paper print
Oh,
was probably
pre no, no,
pre-internet.
pre-internet. Yeah,
Pre-internet.
because not only was I the MD, I was also in charge of IT, with no skills whatsoever. And I went to a conference. Goodness knows when it would have been. It must have been in the 90s. I went to a conference about this thing called the internet. I don't know if you've heard of it. Literally, it was that we went to this conference. It was in Westminster. There was probably 3,000 people there, people on the stage, like a TED Talky type thing, talking about this thing called the internet. And we were all like, oh, what, the computers are going to talk to each other? How's that going to work? Are we going to see this thing called the web? And certainly never heard of the cloud or anything like that. And not even AI was mentioned. And actually, what was really funny was right at the end of this conference, somebody said, so, whilst this is really exciting and this is going to change the way the world works, don't get too excited about it, because probably something else better will come along before it really hits. That was, they just thought it was just a thing,
Interesting.
passing fad.
I want to say a massive thank you to Channel Seaways for sponsoring this podcast and honestly for keeping Alderney alive. They're the reason our food arrives, cars turn up, and occasionally they even ship horses and cannons too. They make it all seem effortless, like clockwork, and thanks to them, we get to feed our families and enjoy a glass of wine at the end of the day. They've been supporting the Channel Islands for over 50 years and with a brilliant team who genuinely care. So go over to their Facebook page, give them a like, show your appreciation, and support the people that keep Alderney civilised. Now back to the episode. Well, I mean, I started my career really by accident in marketing, because I went to film school and I ended up doing a Harry Potter fan film that went viral.
Oh, wow.
But it didn't just go viral. I went out, I hid 100 golden snitches around the UK, made them out little ping pong balls, sent out my own press releases, managed to get into the Hollywood Reporter, BBC.
Amazing.
It went viral. Then I had the opportunity to work for the North Face doing influencer marketing. So I was managing teams of influencers, making sure they're holding the product and da 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 da. So I kind of came from the agency world,
Mm,
and then you kind of like have to come to places like Alderney and meet with clients who potentially are living in an older view of what marketing is. They think it's about slogans and an image and one single video.
yeah.
And it's so difficult to get people to understand that, though, this isn't a one and done. This is, you're a media company now,
Yeah,
and you have to put out these videos every single day
yeah.
and understand that technology. But isn't that super difficult? Because I always consider, like, just like BC and AD, is it? I find like pre-internet and post-internet is like a turning point that's not going to happen again. Like, I personally don't think my children are going to see a time where we're going to have to adopt something like this.
Well, you could say the same is true of AI, though.
Oh, do we want to talk about AI? I was just about to have a lot of fun talking to you, but it's a bit doom and gloom, isn't it?
I love AI.
You do?
Oh, I
Yeah? Are you using it a
do.
lot?
Oh, yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting. It's making everything easier for sure. But I mean,
Mm.
I've actually decided to just like give up marketing now, because the dead internet theory, which is about the time when robots surpass the amount of human interaction online. That's so much generated content that I'm just like, put your phone down, go
Yes.
walk
Yeah.
away, and maybe become a builder.
Yeah, exactly. Well, which will always be needed.
Maybe do something else.
Yeah.
There is still a reluctance to sort of maybe understand modern marketing. I mean, and I mean, how do you work with leaders who perhaps need a crash course in how it now works?
Well, yeah, we certainly moved away from, let's print 5,000 leaflets. That's just sort of,
Some people
no.
have.
Well, yeah, the world has, and it should have, because it's not great for the environment as much as anything else. And there's so many more, better ways to do it. I don't, generally speaking, advise people on marketing. It's generally speaking about leadership. So it's much more about how to inspire, motivate, delegate, coach your teams, how to manage underperformance, how to have those tricky conversations, manage tension, and also manage yourself, self-regulate, and then be a bit more strategic, make good decisions, and manage
Mm.
your time,
But
and manage meetings. So I
how
don't tend to talk about marketing so
how
much.
do you do that though, when the world changes so quick, and the people who are so experienced have the experience,
Yeah.
and now you're telling them they have to go and learn?
I think it's just working out that actually the world has moved on from command and control style leadership, which was the traditional way of do as I say type of stuff. And now it's much more about align and enable. So it's about working out what the purpose is, what's the common goal, what's the shared vision, and giving people an understanding of that so they're aligned with your vision, and then enabling them to meet that vision by working out how to do it themselves. So it's not
Mm.
you're not telling them, giving them step-by-step instructions. You're saying, this is where the end goal, how do you think we could get there? What do you think might be a best way of doing that? And I think particularly with leaders who are longer in the tooth and who may be a slightly distance from actually doing the job, they've got to leave their people to work it out, because um, you don't know anymore. Like, you're too far away from it. The technology's moved on, or the systems have moved on, and the way you used to, sell widgets used to be knocking on people's doors. That doesn't work anymore, so let's do it a different way, but you need to let your people work it out. So that align and enable thing is about balancing empathy and authority. So, I think particularly with this younger generation of Gen Zs coming through, and now Gen Alphas, um, and also since COVID, I think there's a whole world of people saying, I want to feel purposeful. I want to feel like I'm doing something that's useful in the world. I don't just want to be told what to do and just, be an automatron. And so that whole idea of just being authoritative on its own isn't enough. Yes, you need to have some authority to so that people understand the guidelines and the guardrails within which they've got to work, but they also want to feel like they're human and that you respect them as human beings. So that's where the empathy comes in. So this balancing
Mm.
of authority and empathy is really important.
Is it about letting go of control in some
Yeah,
aspects?
in some ways, yeah, it is. Stepping out of the weeds, certainly, and that's something I coach people a lot on. Is actually, what got you to be a leader is, generally speaking, either you've been promoted, or you've started your own business. So if you've gone on the promotion route, you've probably worked really hard. You've probably been a high achiever at school. You've probably been one of those people that does jobs outside your job description, takes on tasks, is happy to work long hours, works at the weekend and in the evenings type of person, often, not always, but often. So what's got you to be a leader is hard work, basically. But actually, once you're a leader, to maintain that, or to go up even further to be, the director or the owner of the business, you can't carry on doing that, because if you're already working 18 hours a day, how are you going to work any more than that? You're not, you're going to break and you're going to
Of
burn
course,
out.
yeah.
So actually, it's a different approach to leadership. It's a different approach. and that is empowering others. So it's
Mm.
learning how to delegate well, learning how to inspire the team, and actually get the people to rise up under you so you can rise up.
Mm.
But then if you're an owner of a business, and I work with lots of owners, CEO, founders, who say, "Oh, why don't the people just do what they're told? And they're not as good as me, and they don't work as long hours as I do. And all these young people want to go home at 5:30, and it's da 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 da." And I'm gradually coaching them to see that if those people were good enough to be as good as you, or had the entrepreneurial spirit and cared about the business as much as you did, they'd go and start a business for themselves.
Of course.
And there is a difference between the owner and an employee,
Mm.
and so there should be.
But here's the thing. So coaching has obviously always been around. I mean, I guess people
Yeah.
used to spend thousands of pounds going to, private events and dinners and stuff so they can network, but also like learn from the experts. Now that the expertise is democratized in a way, it's all online. I mean, you can read a book
Yeah.
very easily from the world's biggest expert in this, and you can do that 10 times in your industry.
Yeah.
And now you've had a shortcut to success. Do you feel like coaching is a new opportunity now that you can connect with coaches all around the world? Obviously, I know that you work remotely a lot of the time. So, I mean, and I've had 2 or 3 coaches in my life. I've spent a lot of money on coaching.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to know that if you haven't invested any money into yourself, but you'll go away on 3 holidays a year,
Yeah.
then don't get upset when someone else gets that job promotion or someone else is just better than you. The thing about coaching as well is every coach that I've worked with is different. Some of them value business, some of them value fitness and exercise, but I wouldn't say any of them are a waste of money. And I think that's what a lot of, I guess, people are afraid of, like wasting money on things. And I can't tell people enough that nothing is a waste of money.
No.
If you hired the wrong person, that's good.
Yeah.
Well done. You now know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
But people always get this kind of, well, I wouldn't do that. Why would I pay someone to do that? Do
Yeah.
you ever feel like, I mean, do you ever get those sort of questions from people, or are they already filtered by that point?
Yeah, a little bit. I do tend to find that the people who come and work with me one-to-one or on my group coaching program, which is an online group of leaders, tend to be really self-aware. So I have a lot of women, and I have a lot of gay men. Whether there's a correlation between that and them being self-aware, I don't know, but I think possibly there might be.
Interesting.
There might be a
I mean, that
correlation.
I can understand why that is, because I think people gravitate towards the people that they think will work well with them.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I have to admit, I've had a few manly man coaches,
Yeah.
who are like, well, if you haven't gone for a 5K run every morning,
Yes.
then your dopamine levels are going to be low and you're going to fail.
Yeah.
And obviously that's great experience, but I'm a creative. Part of my thing is I like staying up all night and burning the midnight oil or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, what would your advice be to anyone that's thinking about finding a coach? I mean, is there a strategy that you'd go down to find the right person to coach you?
Yeah. Think spend some time reflecting on actually what you're looking for, and whether it's because there are lots of different types of coaches. I'm a leadership coach, but there's a career coach that can help you with career transition. There's finance coaches, and obviously fitness coaches, and those sorts of things. There's lots of different ones. Have a look on LinkedIn. Get some recommendations from people you already know. Get a feel for whether or not you like what they say. 'Cause a lot of us, in terms of coaching, put material out there so that you can sort of test the waters about whether or not you are aligned with the theory. And most of us do some social media stuff, a blog, whatever. I mean, I do a lot because I've got a book, I've got a podcast. So you can see whether or not you think I know what I'm talking about. And then most people, if you're doing one-to-one particularly, will give you the chance to have a chemistry call, a half an hour telephone call, and then you'll know from that.
Interesting. Well, I'm more interested in your coaching at this point, because it's been a long time since I've had a coach. Obviously, having a coach can be expensive, and you have to make sure it's justified business cost. Is there a point that maybe the budget should come from a company? Should companies consider their senior leaders coaching budget?
Yeah. So my clients tend to either be people who are investing in themselves because they want to do well at work, or that they run the business themselves, or people who have found me through social media, and then they go to their HR or their line manager and say, please can I have funding for this. And some people come with a budget already, so they'll say they've been given X thousand pounds by their company and they're looking for a coach, and they find me. Sometimes I have HR people or head, CPOs, chief people officers coming to me saying, can you do a program for our team? And I do in-person training workshops, design thinking workshops, which is an alignment workshop, which is really good fun. I'm doing some of those in the next few weeks. And I've also got online digital courses as well, so you can test the water even more without having to do the one-to-one cut stuff. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it because anyone that is self-aware knows the opportunities in front of
Yeah.
them. But there are a lot of people who are just not willing to look at anything else. Particularly, I mean, with personal branding, I mean, I've done a lot of personal branding for people in the past, and a lot of the companies are like, why would we pay for our CEO to get, 10,000 followers on on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
They're just going to leave. And you're like, it's a real hard one, isn't it? Investing in a person. I mean, what's the tangible results from things like coaching? I mean, you must get a lot of people coming back to you with saying, oh, I've done this and now this has happened. Do you get some good feedback?
Oh yeah, definitely, and also get lots of repeat clients, so that's always good. I think probably the main thing is that what I help people do is work out where they are now and work out where they want to be in 6 months' time. Usually most of my programs are 6 months, and then give them some really clear, tangible next steps of how to get there. So it's not just a nice chat. I'm talking about one-to-one coaching now. But it's hopefully engaging and enlightening and fun, but also productive, because I'm a business person first, and so I want to make sure everybody gets results. And at the end of every session, they come away with at least one, if not maybe 5 or 6 really clear things they're going to try, they're going to do in the coming weeks after that session. And so what I get people, the feedback I get from people is that they couldn't quite work out what coaching was going to give them. And then once they've had 2 or 3 sessions, they're like, oh yes, I get this now. And actually by the end of the coaching, and we do a review at the last session, we do a review of where they've come, and they say, oh my goodness, at the beginning I didn't know how to delegate. I felt really unsure about how to manage my stakeholders. I didn't know how to present myself in board meetings, those sorts of things. And now it's obvious, it's easy to me, and it's not like they're saying, oh, what did Kate say, where is it in the manual? It's actually a proper sustainable it's a transformation inside of themselves. So a lot of it is mindset, and as well as techniques and toolkits and checklists, which I help them with. So it's a bit of both things. It's some of it's skill and learning techniques, and some of it's an approach and a belief in yourself and an understanding of how other people operate. Before we started recording, we were talking about influencing without authority, and that's one thing that I really help people with. It's working out how to interpret where you are, what the other person's perspective is, how you might speak in their language and their tone. So some people, for instance, will love storytelling, and they will want you to put your point of view. If you're trying to persuade them to your point of view for some reason, trying to get buy-in from them, they'll love it if you tell them a story, and you really bring across their hearts and minds, and they're engaged in what you're saying, and that will be the way to grab that person. Other people, on the other hand, will want data, evidence, facts, and you've got to work out which audience you're talking to. And some people are a combination of the two, and some people are slightly nuanced and different. But it's really worth working out who your audience is, so that you can speak in the right language and speak in the right tone and at the right pace. I talk very quickly, and some of my clients are also fast-paced people, and I think that's no coincidence.
This is really hard. Like, this is really difficult. I mean, to make good leaders these days, I mean, you have to have good leaders to make good leaders, right? They need to
Sure.
be inspired by somebody.
Yeah.
But I think, isn't that the point, is that when you do invest in a coach, and I mean invest, not, oh, I had a free session and it didn't work, but the money's on the skin's in the game, as they say. And then you walk into a room, and now instead of, you thinking about, whatever else you've been doing in life, you've now got the thoughts and the ideas, and I guess you do become the average of the 5 friends that you hang around with, right? And if one of those people is a coach and the other person's a business founder, you're going to become a little bit more like them, right? I love it. I love it, but I know how difficult it is to find good leaders. Now, company-wise, I don't mind legacy companies, that were once great failing, because I know a lot of great young founders. But obviously on a small one like Alderney, we've got committees, and I did my first presentation 10 years ago to the Economic Development Committee, different ages, different expertise. I'm obviously young. I've taken the cap off now. The cap has been retired after many people saying that they'd take you more seriously if you had a cap on. But does it work very different then when you get to like politics compared to
Yeah.
business?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of experience in politics, but my understanding, and certainly from when my dad was around, and he was in the golf club. He was the captain of the golf club for many years. I think he might have outstayed his welcome actually a little bit at at the end
I
there,
love
but
that.
he was a good captain, I think. It's really tricky when it's a committee because there's it's not the same as in a business organization where you have KPIs and you have performance and plans and you have disciplinary action and that sort of stuff. It's very different. So everyone, to some extent is there. I don't know. Why do people go into politics? You know.
Well, that's a
Mhm.
very good question.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to say it now. I'm never going to go into politics.
Yeah.
I think one of the hardest things for me personally is as a creative person, like, yeah, you can't put me in a box. Like,
No.
I'm kind of
Yeah.
unmanageable, and I certainly couldn't do the job that these states members do. Like,
No.
they work so hard. They sit there in long meetings,
Yeah.
where, as you said, some people love telling stories when they could have definitely said this in one sentence.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
take 10 minutes.
Yeah.
These states members have to listen to this
Yeah.
and they have to respond. And by the time they even want to say something, that idea is gone now because we're on to a different subject. So
Yeah.
it's a really, it's
Yeah.
a horrible job to
Yeah.
have to deal with. But I mean, I grew up in the Army Cadets. I was very interested in
Okay.
going into the army, and thankfully I didn't, just because it wasn't, it wasn't right for me. But I really like that military, just straightforward attitude.
Yeah.
But I also know that is not what a lot of people want,
No.
right? It's
No.
very, very different to,
Yeah.
what do they say? Process over performance or something.
Yeah.
It's sometimes it's like, well, you have to do everything in the exact right way.
Yes.
Otherwise it's not even considered,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. And sometimes that's true in business. There needs to be some consistency, or you've got legislation compliance to meet, and health and safety and that sort of stuff. So you have to tell people exactly what to do. But most of the time you find people are more empowered and more engaged if they get to choose how they do something. So it's a
Mm.
delicate balance. But I think politics is a really tricky one because generally speaking, as you said about meetings, how many meetings have has anybody sat in, whether they're a politician or in an organization, thinking, oh God, this should have been an email. And how many emails, I just saw somebody on TikTok this morning say, how many emails should have been a thought. I love that. Inside thought.
Do you know what? It's got
Yeah,
worse
it's a
now.
good one.
Now that people are using AI, I've been sent emails where like someone's literally just like chain emails as well, with like
Yeah,
groups of people in it,
yeah,
and all they've done is copy and pasted a load of AI waffle,
yeah,
which is, it might have been made from your original thought,
yes,
but you're like, oh
yeah.
my
Oh,
God,
yeah,
can
just
you
edit it a bit, please. Yes,
right and
yeah,
just say it
yeah,
quickly?
yeah,
I mean, it's funny. Someone said to me, 80% of people in the world don't care about your problems, and 20% of them like the fact you have problems. And I thought that was really interesting
yeah,
because, sometimes
yeah,
people get very upset about things and they want to send you, and I'm definitely part of this because I've done it. I've
yeah.
sent people large emails, and of course, you don't get any response. And then you speak to them in person, you realize they didn't read your email.
No,
And then you go, hold a second, why should they care about what I say? And then you've got to try and find a better way of doing it,
yeah,
right? Because I think that's the one thing that I was very lucky when I was at film school that I met. I met a big producer in the industry, and I said, "If can you give me one piece of advice?"
mm.
And he said, "Always blame yourself." And
Oh
I
wow,
thought interesting, and it was like, but no, not everything's my fault.
no,
And I'm like, but what if I did look at it like everything was my fault?
yeah,
And of course, that's where the idea of coaching then,
yeah,
got me into it. And you
yeah,
do really change, but
yeah,
there's a big blame game culture here. And I hate to say, but I feel like part of it is generational. I feel like there is the older generation, particularly the men, who have got this big showboat sort of thing. I've done this and I've done that,
yeah,
and I worked for this company. And it's like that way of storytelling is just so, it's just one directional. You're not going to get, things done. You might be heard more and people may like that. But today's day and age, I mean, how do you feel about the younger generation? How are we communicating differently?
Well, just to go back to 30 seconds to another point you made, which was the yeah, they might be heard more because they're shouting louder, but are people listening? And that's a different thing.
Ooh.
So the listening part of being a leader is really, really important, but also the communicating in a way that give space for people to listen, but also for you to listen to them. So I've got a framework that I use called LECA, L-E-C-A, which is to listen and empathize first. So somebody comes into you to talk, and this is relevant for politics as well as in business. Listen and empathize first. So really listen, actively listen, not just to reply, not just to tell your version of the anecdote or the story. Oh yes, you know that story about I'm going to Tenerife, and the person says, "You're going to Tenerife? Well, I'm going to 11erife." No, they're a one-upman
Story
person.
toppers.
Yeah, story toppers, exactly. I've hurt my toe. Oh, you've hurt your toe. I've broken my leg in 4 places. Okay, we don't need to know that. We need to say, "Oh gosh, I'm sorry to hear you've hurt your toe. Tell me about that. What happened?" So listen and empathize first. Those are the first two letters, L-E, and then coach next. So that might look like, is there anything I can do to help? What would be useful? What have you tried? What would you like to do? What would you do if there was no fear? This is not if you hurt your toe, by the way. This is a business problem. What were you hoping I was going to say? What would you say to a friend? All these coaching questions, which are good open questions, which don't elicit a yes or no response. And then A is the last one, and you should keep it in reserve. And only if we really need it is to give them advice. And this is a really good tool if you're a parent, if you're working in a shop, whatever you do, LECA. So listen and empathize to your customer, your stakeholder, your supplier, your child, your boss first, then coach if you can, and then say, would it be helpful if I offered some advice? And if they say no, shut up. But they'll probably say yes at that stage. And I've used this with my kids. I've got a 22-year-old and a 20-year-old. And they sometimes say, "Mummy, you're coaching me. Can you stop coaching me?" When I say, "How do you feel about that? What would you like to do about that?"
That's so
I'm
funny.
hungry. What would you like to do about that? Rather than I go make you a sandwich. I'm just trying to get them to make their own
Don't
sandwich.
tell my mum that. Jesus Christ, she's gonna stop ironing my boxer shorts.
Yeah.
So just tell me that again.
LECA.
LECA.
L-E-C-A. Yeah.
L-E-C-A. Listen, empathize,
coach, advise.
and then last resort, advise.
Yeah.
That's brilliant, isn't it? Because most people do it the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. And you think instinctively that when somebody shares a problem with you, I hate my job. So maybe your partner comes home and says, "Oh God, I hate my job. I've had another awful day, blah, blah, blah." And your instinct is to try and solve the problem. So you say, "Well, why don't you just resign? It's okay. We can make do. I can get a second job, or you can get a different job, or whatever it is. Just resign." And the person who's speaking actually probably wants you to say, "Oh, really? Have you had a tough day? Let me make you a cup of tea. We'll sit down and have a chat about it."
Rarely happens though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It rarely happens. I mean, maybe people don't have time, or as I was saying earlier, maybe they just don't care about your problems, or happy you have them.
Yeah, maybe. I'd like to think as I said to you when we were having a cup of tea before, that I'm a very positive person. And I think it's probably because people think that their job is to advise. And I think lots of leaders think their job is to solve the problem. So their person comes in to speak to them and they think, okay, you've got a problem. How can I solve it? This is what you need to do. But actually all that happens is you end up being a bottleneck, and you end up, again, disempowering your people from solving problems themselves. Do you want another tool? I've got to give you another one.
Please do. Yeah,
it's
hit
really
me.
Good. It's really good.
What do you got?
It's called 131.
131.
Okay, so you can use this yourself if you're thinking about a decision you want to make or a problem that you've got, and you can also use it when you're trying to get buy-in from somebody else, or if you want your team member to solve problems for themselves. 131. One is, what's the one key issue? Because often people will be thinking, "Oh, this isn't working, this is a nightmare." So somebody comes into you and says, "Oh, it's all a nightmare." And you say, "Okay, what's the one key thing that we want to solve?" And there might be lots, but let's start with one. So what's the one key thing? So the one key thing might be the customer's complained. So then you say to them, "Okay, so what are the 3 options? What can you think of?" Rather than you solving it as the leader, what are the 3 options? And they might say, "We do nothing, we ignore it, we give them all their money back, or we give them an extra bit of work for free." Okay. And what's your one preferred solution? So that's the 131. What's the one key issue? What are the 3 options? And what's your one preferred solution? And they say, "I think we should maybe do some extra work for them for free." Sounds good to me. Off you go.
Damn, that is priceless advice. I hope
good.
the people of not just the island, but the world are listening to this
The world
right
are
now.
listening, yeah. And it's really good if you don't know what to have for lunch.
Ah,
So, oh God, I'm a bit grumpy. What's the one key issue? "Oh, I'm hungry.
hungry.
What am I going to have for lunch? Soup, sandwich, salad."
What I prefer.
Soup. It's cold. Today I'm going to have soup.
I love that.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really interesting because I find like, a lot, particularly on Alderney, when I'm talking to people about marketing, is they say to me, oh no, you don't need to do that. You got to go fix the airport. And I go, but I don't know anything about airports, and it's
Yeah.
so funny because you're like, well, I was coming to you because I'm actively trying to do something. And then now I'm going away more confused
Yeah.
because I didn't, and that's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So like reflecting things back on people
Yeah.
and asking them those sort of
Yeah.
what and how questions, that's big.
Yeah.
That really is big. Now, I mean, you have two children.
I do.
They are of the Gen Z.
Yeah.
Are they Gen Z? So I'm a
Yeah.
millennial now. That's so
Oh,
weird, isn't it?
old.
I'm so old now. But I mean, how do you think the younger generation have a different way of communicating it? Is it different, or are
Oh,
we?
yes, sorry, that was the first question you asked me, wasn't it? And I've
No,
gone off on a tangent.
no. Great tangent,
Yeah,
by the way.
yeah. So our kids are 22 and 20, and the older one is non-binary, and it did psychology at Oxford and has been working in psychology as a research assistant and is now applying for a master's to do psychology. And then the younger one is 20 and is at Nottingham doing a classics degree. I have no idea what's going to happen to them, either of them. Jess is the younger one, is also going to apply for a master's. And I just think it's a really confusing world at the moment for that generation because the jobs are so hard to come by. So Cam, our eldest is called Cameron.
No.
Yeah. So Cam has been looking for a job for a bit. And whilst they're sort of filling in time waiting to go to do their masters, and they're applying for assistant psychologist jobs. So the world needs psychologists, right? There's no doubt about it. We need psychologists. For every job that there's available, 250 people are applying, and they're not even getting an interview. And they got a degree from Oxford.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So I just think it's really, really, really tough. So in terms of communication, I can only speak about R2. They tend not to like picking up the phone. They tend not to like sending emails to people. They tend to worry about communication with people they don't know. They don't like AI, either of them. So when I say, "Oh, I'll just ask ChatGPT," they go, "Oh," I get lots of eye rolling because they don't agree with the
ethics.
Yeah, mostly about the use of energy. And water.
Interesting.
Yeah, the world's resources don't need you to ask ChatGPT about a recipe for.
Look at you getting told off by your kids for using technology.
Oh, absolutely, completely. I mean, our kids are a tiny bit unusual. Cam is an avid book reader and has billions and billions of books. And literally, when they were a teenager, I would quite often go to the room and say to them, "Can you stop reading a book and come and watch television?"
That is hilarious.
So yeah, it's.
Before we continue, I want to say a massive thank you to Alderney Electricity for backing this podcast. On an island of just 2,000 people, sometimes it can be quite easy to take the energy we have for granted. But behind every light switch is a team of electricians, engineers, and administrators working hard to keep us going. But they don't just power our homes, they power our community with local sponsorship like this. Alderney Electricity continues to support the events, the projects, and of course the stories that bring our island together. Alderney Electricity, thank you very much for keeping our lights on and for sponsoring this podcast. I guess it's more worrying for me because, I'm kind of at that point in my life now where I should be making loads of money because of all the skills and opportunities. But then those opportunities I used to be able to see further ahead than I can now,
Right.
in the sense of, being an early adopter to social media, working with agencies. We used to be the one person in a company who's a social media guy, and now they're teams of 20, 30 people making huge amounts of content. But with the whole introduction of AI, it is scary to think that the senior lawyers are no longer recruiting junior lawyers, because why would I need to recruit a junior when my AI can do it? But what about all the people that have law degrees?
Yeah.
And then just, the whole world just feels like too connected. I don't think we knew what was going on.
No.
The whole Trump, I don't even know what Trump's doing. It's like you wake up and there's a new thing.
Yeah.
It's every day, and you kind of get a bit confused by it and scared. Like that fear and that anxiety that the younger generation have, which I'm always being told that we're a bunch of wet wipes, which is which is stupid because wet wipes can be very useful, particularly as I found out with my young niece and nephew.
Yeah, they're
You know,
useful, but you shouldn't flush them.
you shouldn't flush them.
Yeah,
Don't flush the wet
I do
wipes.
know that.
But that's the thing. So we got the technology, all that can
Yeah.
make us do anything. We got the books. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, the ability to just read from these expertise. But these opportunities kind of
Yeah.
aren't there.
Yeah.
Well, Cam, if you're listening to this, come move to Alderney with your mother. We can have. We are looking for younger people to come to this island.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's always an option.
Yes.
What do you hope then? You know, where are these young people going to find all their role models from?
Goodness knows. I mean, it's really tough. I think particularly the job market's really, really tricky. So who knows what's going to happen? But I'm hoping that we're at that shift, you know, and like the Industrial Revolution many moons ago, people were worried that the machines were going to take all of our jobs. But we just, you know, reinvented how things work. And I'm hoping that AI will end up being the same. That yes, it will take lots of jobs, but it also will generate lots of jobs as well in a different way. And it'll increase efficiency, and maybe costs will go down for businesses, and maybe prices will kind of, maybe I'm wishful thinking here. I'm a utopian thought, but maybe.
Listen,
Who knows?
I don't know. Let's start with I don't know.
No.
But, you know, and my dad says this to me a lot. He says, it's all the same thing as when I was young. And, you know, to some degree, I'm like, yeah, but,
Yeah.
you know, I'm going to say it because I'm sure one day I'll look back on this, but I don't think this is going to go well. You know, the idea of outsourcing our brains to, you know, 5 companies in the world, that's a really dangerous thing. You know, I mean, there's a reason why ChatGPT is free.
Yeah.
You know, you're all putting in your expertise, and
Yeah.
it's all just training and learning. And
The thing is, we've got to be careful with how we use it, though. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't take it as gospel by any
course
means,
not.
particularly actually with legal stuff and with financial stuff, and also medical stuff. You've got to be really careful. You still need to see the real people, and that's. You know, it can be a worry. I think if you just ask ChatGPT a question and take what it says as gospel, you've got to ask it to critically analyze this, prove your sources, you know, make sure that this is factually correct. Don't just give me your opinion. Don't just give me what you've done before for somebody else. You know, look at this question in proper detailed a way, and also, you know, just make sure it's evidence based, because it can come back so confidently, can't it, with great answers, and then you say, really, is that right? And then it comes back, oh, my bad.
Yeah.
And you're like, hold
Sorry
on a
about that.
second, I was about to take advice on where I lived in the world, or, you know, whatever.
Yeah,
You know, because
yeah,
I've been talking about whether or not we want to move to Alderney permanently and have my company based here. And I asked ChatGPT about the tax implications for doing that in terms of corporation tax and CGT and income tax and everything else. And it gave me this really confident reply. And I was like, no, I don't think that's right. So I challenged it, and it went, oh yeah.
Sorry about that.
You know, I could have literally moved here
Yeah.
on the basis of its recommendation.
Well,
So
I
have to
hope
be
you
careful.
do move here, because I'd like to see you more, and
Yeah.
it would be really nice to have you here.
Yeah.
I also think there's a really big missed opportunity with the custom GPTs. You know, and this is again, people, if you're not spending $20 a month on ChatGPT Plus, you are not using the full capacity of AI. The nice thing about having a custom GPT is, you know, you set up this custom GPT, you train it on the things you want to train it on. So one of the first things I did when I got to Alderney 3 years ago is I took all the government data, the census reports, health reports, budgets, and you put it into a custom GPT.
Brilliant.
Now it's not just picking information from the internet, it's reading through specific PDFs. Did the same thing with the Guernsey tax laws, right? And of course, I'm sending this to people and they go, yeah, I've got AI as well. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, this is actually reading the full Guernsey tax law and actually telling you where in there it says that.
Yeah.
Now that is a powerful thing. So custom GPTs, I think is something that we all need to be, you know, having our own ones. And, you know, I've got a marketing god, I've got an email god, I've got my finance god, which is basically my own bank accounts. And like, to think that I'm putting my bank details into a ChatGPT. I mean, I probably shouldn't be saying that. OpenAI engineers are going to be like, right, let's go find here. But we are moving so quickly, aren't we? And not just with the technology, the global politics of the world does seem to be going back to an old school way of leading, just chest bumping. I mean, you know, hearing Trump talk about the EU leaders, you kind of think that would never have happened 30 years ago. Now, what's that going to do to, you know, to these meetings that people are having. It's an us or them mentality.
Yeah, it's scary. It is scary. But as John Lennon said, it'll all be okay in the end. And if it's not okay, it's not the end.
Ooh, okay. I love it. Yeah, yeah. So quotes will always get us by, won't it?
Yeah.
But it is important just to keep going, isn't
Yeah.
it? Because you know you got no choice really, isn't it? You
Yeah.
just gotta
Yeah.
keep going. So you said that you were thinking about moving to Alderney.
Yeah.
What would the benefit be of being on Alderney every day?
That I love it and it's quiet and I love the peace, and also we have a great view like you do of Bray Harbour, which is amazing, and the people, and being with my sister is really nice, and the Georgian and Cantina, we love Cantina. I go there all the time. So yeah, I just like the pace of life here. I like the fact that I don't have to lock up the car or the house. The dog loves it here. We've got a working cocker spaniel, and she goes crazy and loves it. And yeah, it's just such a beautiful, beautiful place. I think just where my heart is and where it will always be. So luckily, I married somebody who also loves Alderney. I brought him here. Actually, just when we first got together, and he's a builder, and my dad and Jill were like, "Oh, Kate, can't you do better than that?" You know, they were hoping for a lawyer or a doctor or something useful, and I was like, "Just meet him, and you'll see." You'll see. And then literally, it didn't take long before they were, "Oh, lovely Alan. He's such a good man."
He's now lovely,
he's
Alan.
yeah, and he was a good golfer. I used to play golf with my dad and let my dad win, which is always good,
Wow.
and also being a builder can mend stuff. So it would be like, "Alan, can you come and mend this? And Alan, can you mend that?" So yeah, he was very popular in the end. But yeah, and he loves it here too, and he loves fishing. So he's a happy man. So I mean,
Ooh.
a happy husband, makes for a happy
They
wife.
do say, "Love me, love my island," isn't it? And
Yeah,
that is a hard thing because I think I know of some people on the island whose marriages have literally
oh
split up
yeah,
because he or her didn't like it,
yeah,
but the other partner decided, well,
yeah,
I'm staying.
yeah, yeah,
It's weird, isn't
yeah.
it?
It's like a living being Marmite, isn't it? So,
Literally.
if you had a partner that didn't like Marmite and you did, you could live with that
Sure.
because you
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
have
yeah.
to force them to eat it.
Yeah.
But if you want to live here and the other person doesn't get it, I think there's just a thing, isn't there? Just a thing about you get Alderney or you don't. And luckily we both do, and now our kids both do as well, which is great.
There is also the fact that you can work anywhere, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the first thing I did after the big storm was I checked that my Starlink was still there.
Yeah.
And I saw yours was still there as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
thank God
yeah.
Kate's internet access is there.
Yeah,
And so you really can do all of your work from here.
yeah, yeah,
Wow, it's amazing, isn't it?
yeah, which is good.
So what's
And
stopping these younger people from moving here then, do you think?
oh, I don't know. I think there is a sense that you do need to be a bit entrepreneurial being in Alderney, don't you? Lots of people have multiple jobs, and to be able to do stuff online, I think you have to have that sort of entrepreneurial flair. And I don't think our kids have got it, or certainly hasn't shown up yet.
So I reckon maybe what we should do, we
Mm.
should set up a content creators
Yeah,
like event or something. Maybe like an
yeah,
influencer retreat.
yeah,
Yeah, that sounds
yeah. There
great,
you
doesn't it?
go. There
An
you go.
influencer retreat,
Yeah,
maybe like before Alderney Week every year. We don't
yeah.
want them here for an Alderney Week,
No,
but
no.
to get those sort of people
Yeah.
here, I think we just got to tell the world we exist.
Yes.
Now
Yeah.
people have. I mean, I've always been banging on about demand of Alderney, but people tell me the demand's there. Everyone wants to come here, and I'm like, well, that's funny because you go around the UK and ask people about Alderney, they go, where?
Well, yeah.
Where is that?
Yeah. And the tricky bit obviously is the connections.
Well, that's it. They think, yeah, I'll come there. Or someone tells me. It's always a friend, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
bring a friend
Yes.
system.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, you look at the price of getting here, and
Yeah.
it's going higher and higher.
Yeah.
I look back at a video I made 7 years ago
Mm.
about Alderney, and it had 150,000 views. Guernsey Press put it on as a viral video about Alderney, and yeah, I mean, getting the price down because I was saying it was £100 return in that video.
Mm.
I was like, flights can be quite expensive with £100 return.
And you're like, yeah.
£100 each way, I said.
Yeah.
And now I look at the price, I'm
Mm.
like, well, I can get to Bangkok for 145
Yeah,
quid.
exactly.
So we are in that very, very hard place.
Yeah.
But I like storytelling, and I think that anyone that comes here is going to have the opportunity to tell these really unique stories,
Yeah.
just about a little quirky island that no one really knows about.
Yeah.
So maybe we should maybe we should invite some influencers here.
We should definitely. Maybe think about all the things that you've got here. Lots of people say to me, "What do you love about Alderney?" People who don't know about it, and I say, "Well, can you imagine having the beauty of Cornwall without the traffic and the crime and everything else, and yet we've got these amazing restaurants, these amazing, facilities." Beautiful shops, great food. And when I say to people, "Oh yeah, we've got a Waitrose," they sort of like, "What?" It's not really a
You
Waitrose,
posh
is it? But
gits.
exactly, yeah, we're too posh. But actually, I have to say, the Morrison's is great as well.
Yeah.
And so it's got all the best bits, hasn't it, of civilization in terms of fancy being able to go to somewhere like the Blonde Hedgehog
Oh,
and have an amazing meal in some beautiful surroundings. Um, and yet also being able to walk there and just be at home in the comfort of your own home with an amazing view, and the just being able to get. Actually, one of the things I wanted to thank you and your family for is the now defunct flagpole that got blown over in the storm. But I love that flag because every morning I open the curtains and I go, okay, I know which way the wind's blowing. I know which walk I'm going on with the dog in the morning.
oh
So I look
well.
at your flag every day. And so, can you get it back up again, please?
My dad has got to hurry up and do that. Yeah.
yeah. Even when the wind dies down a little bit. But yeah, so to be able to navigate, to decide on which walk you're going to do by which way the wind's blowing.
But there is such a pride. I think
amazing.
everyone in Alderney really is proud to be from here.
Yes.
And I think
Yeah.
that's quite unique these days,
Yeah.
particularly people in the UK. They can't wait to leave.
Yeah.
And that's strange. A lot of my friends are moving around the world at this point.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them. I mean, is fear a good way of leading? I mean, can we just scare people to come into Alderney?
Yeah.
What happens if it all goes south?
Yeah, yeah. Well, my step cousin Simon, he said you've got to move to Alderney because the tax in the UK is going to be a nightmare. It's you've got to get there and get there now. Just sell up, move. So he was sort of he was fear mongering a bit.
Well, I'm just telling people World War III's coming, so
yeah.
but then that wouldn't be so clever, would it? Because I think
No.
we have a nuclear power station just
No.
over on France, 7
No.
miles away.
Yeah.
I always imagine if that power station blew up, I'd be like,
No.
oh mum, look at that.
Fireworks. That's an
Skin
interesting.
evaporated, yeah.
Yeah,
No, listen, we
torchlight procession
don't
has
want to scare
gone
people
wrong.
into doing anything
No.
these days, because I think there is value in authenticity. There's value in censorship,
Yeah.
and simply just putting stories out online about this little island. I think eventually we will sort of get there. But obviously, decline is tough, isn't it? Because every day the problems that you could have solved yesterday have multiplied and multiplied and multiplied. It's like the Gremlins.
Yeah.
Don't put Gizmo in the microwave
No,
because
quite.
tomorrow there's going to be 100
100
of him.
Yeah. But if you think back to, I watched your Ray Parkin interview that you did, and Ray was a great friend of my dad's, and I can't remember how long ago it was, but he was talking then about Alderney being in decline and it being difficult to get here. And I think it is hopefully just one of those cyclical things about Alderney that will it'll right itself. Let's hope. I'm positive about it.
Well, and annoyingly, if you speak to AI, it ain't a good look.
No.
And particularly if we can't get people working together, that's the one frustration for me is 3 years of being here and I can't seem to work with the States on anything. And you would imagine you'd look at your resources, and there's a lot of people who have said this to me. I came here, I offered my skills for free. And they didn't want it. And it does seem to me like if you're a leader who really has a big problem, you're going to look at all that free energy as an opportunity. But whether or not we ever get that kind of teamwork and leadership, I don't know.
Interesting to know what the resistance is, isn't it? Is it new ideas? Is it?
I just think it's difficult. It's difficult because the resources aren't there. You don't have the resources to pay the experts. And then I have to say, and I think Steve Jobs said this best, but A players recruit A players, B players recruit C players. And if you have a culture where your expertise maybe not be in this field, but you're now in that job, then it's very scary when people who do have the expertise come along and try and change things, because it makes you it doesn't make you look bad, but maybe you just don't want that change. I did have Nigel Dipper on the other day, and he said, he said he actively votes for the incompetent states members because he doesn't want the island to change. and I couldn't stop
Oh,
fucking
wow.
laughing. I thought it was the most funny thing ever. And I said, Nigel, thank you for saying it.
Yeah.
Because maybe that is something. I mean, I think they call them NIMBYs,
Yeah.
but really, I think it's afraid of something different,
Yeah.
or just wasting time. I think he was saying there's so many major plans about
Oh, gosh.
things that never happen.
Yeah.
And that eats up the island's attention.
Yeah.
Groupthink's a very real thing.
Yeah.
If you talk about a runway for 4 years,
Mm.
that's all your states members are going to focus on
Yeah.
is a runway.
Yeah.
Even though we could have had quick wins here every single day,
Yeah.
well, unfortunately, when you walk into the sailing club and start relating the things you read on social media, or weighing in on aircraft, the amount of people that tell me what aircraft we should have, I'm like, I don't know any. How do you know about aircraft?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
and I think to get away from that group think, it's really difficult. That's what good leaders are about.
Yeah.
And I think good leadership is, unfortunately, good leaders that don't put themselves out online these days are missing a huge trick. I mean, you might be operating behind the scenes, and I only found out recently because my Alderney post, I made an article talking about why Alderney has to advertise Alderney. And of course, I suddenly get messages from states members saying, but this is happening and this is happening, and you shouldn't have pissed off Alderney because you're going to ruin it, Cam. And I'm like, oh God, it's all Cam's fault now. He's gonna ruin it. But the truth is, if you don't communicate using these modern tools, I mean, you have a podcast that you make, from your bedroom.
Yeah.
I have a podcast that I make in my bedroom.
Yeah.
So if you don't adopt those communication tools, you're leaving your people in the dark, right?
Sure.
What have you learned about the online space now? I mean, obviously, I know kind of going back to Linda, but I mean, this is really your bread and butter now. You're really good at it. You're very, very consistent.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to anyone trying to adopt, a bit of an online presence?
Don't be scared and just keep going and have a go at it and see what happens. Try different things, work it out till something hits. In fact, I had a client yesterday who works for the company that makes Glenfiddich whiskey, and she's a one-to-one client, and she said, "Oh yeah, I loved your post yesterday. Do you get lots of clients from your reels?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I wouldn't do it otherwise." I didn't say that to her, but I said, "Yeah, I do." And she was one of them. She found me on Facebook, I think. So it's about giving it a go. And she said to me, "So you get clients from it? Is there any negative stuff?" Because I think lots of people, particularly people my age, think, "Oh, if I put my head above the parapet, I'm going to get people trolling me and saying nasty things." I get, touch wood, I get very few negative comments. I get the odd one when I do something that people haven't quite realised it's a joke. So I did one where I did a duet, where you have a split screen with somebody else. So there was a American creator who's actually called Karen, who's a millennial manager, and she does some funny stuff and some serious stuff about being a manager. And this one was a serious one where she was saying, "I'm a millennial manager and I don't care what you do on your paid time off. Just go and have fun. I'm a millennial manager and I don't care when you do your jobs as long as you get them done. I'm a millennial," and she went on like this. She had about 10 of them. I don't care if you want to run errands during the day as long as you get your work done, type of thing. And then I'm on the other half of the screen pretending I'm reacting to it in real time. And actually, I'd only listened to it once, but I thought, oh, Linda would have a field, she'd hate that. So I dressed up as Linda. I just put glasses on and a scarf usually. And I just had Linda doesn't say anything. She just goes, everything Karen says, she's tutting like this. And at the end, I sort of got up and swore, looked like I was about to say F off as I got off the screen. Posted it, went to a board meeting actually with a client at the time. Came out of the board meeting and it had got like 2 million views. And I was and it's now got 5.7 million. And the thing was, because naively, this was quite early on, I thought that only my followers would see it. And it just says Linda reacts to Karen, the millennial manager. They thought I was actually Linda. They didn't realise that it's a character. So I had lots of people, particularly Americans, actually, it blew up later that evening, saying, "Oh, retire already, you old lady. I wish you old people would just die already. Get out of the workplace so the rest of us can get on with our lives." Literally hundreds of those, hundreds. And so I got quite defensive about that, and I would be writing about saying Linda is a character. It's satire. If you look at my other stuff, you'll realise I'm a coach.
For replying, that's really good.
But I'm so cross.
Yeah.
And my kids were saying, "Mum, just leave it.
Posting ghost.
Just leave it.
Yeah.
Just leave it. Just don't worry about it."
Good for the algorithm, though, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Got me loads of I got 5,000 new followers just from that one video in the first week. But the thing to remember is that the people who comment nasty comments aren't going to be my clients, and that's why I do it.
Of course.
And the people who get it and get the sense of humor and actually, as we were talking about, have self-awareness are the ones that I want to appeal to in the first place. So I just don't need to worry about the trolls. But I don't get that many. Occasionally I get somebody saying, you've got great teeth, and other people saying you've got bad teeth. So that's interesting.
That's a hard
Thanks for
one.
commenting on my teeth.
Yeah. What's wrong with my teeth?
Well, actually, lots of people say, "Oh, why do you show your bottom teeth when you talk?" And I just, that's how my mouth works. I don't do it on purpose, but I am in good company. I've got Keira Knightley.
As a follower?
No.
Oh, right.
Who shows her bottom teeth?
Oh, I see.
Emma Thompson.
I just haven't
Hugh
even
Grant.
thought about this.
Yeah. Well, you can have a look. Emma Thompson, Hugh Grant, Keira Knightley, and me. We're all bottom teeth talkers.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can see it commands authority. Almost like you want to eat me. I'm a bit scared.
I know we're in your bedroom, but no.
Well, look, I mean, the one thing that I'm always trying to understand how to talk to people about is the tangible results from social media stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you get all these millions of followers. For you, I guess it translates into the bottom line for your business.
Yeah.
But for Alderney, I mean, I've had a lot of people come up to me and say, "Oh, we moved here after watching your videos."
Amazing.
And I it's hard for me to take those kind of results and tell people that all this is happening, because isn't marketing so difficult these days to know where the results come from? You've got to have faith, right?
It is. I can see with you it would be, because it's not like somebody's clicking a button and downloading a free lead magnet and then getting into your email newsletter list and then being, in you being able to track them in terms of, and then they say, "Oh, I've moved to Alderney." So yours is a bit more anecdotal, but I guess you could do a survey for all the people who've moved here. I don't know, but for me, it's I've got 10,000 people on my newsletter list. I get lots of new clients out of it, obviously, but I also get two other revenue streams. One is I get some money from the social media platforms themselves, so I get a little bit of money out of YouTube and Meta and TikTok. But the other thing I get, which is a sort of side hustle for me by accident, is I get content collaboration deals. So I've done one recently with Remarkable, where they paid me to do 3 reels on TikTok and 3 carousels on Instagram. They gave me a Remarkable. Do you know what I mean by Remarkable?
I don't know.
It's like it looks a bit like your iPad, but it's but you don't type into it. You use a pen, a digital pen,
nice.
and it feels like paper. It's called a Paper Pro, this particular version. So it's a digital journal. And I got it and I thought, oh yeah, it's a bit of a gadget, a bit nice. I absolutely love it now, because before I used to have journal after journal after journal, one for my one-to-one clients, one for my group coaching program, one for any discovery calls I had, and one for my to-do lists. And now it's all there in one place, and I literally just take that everywhere.
Wow, and so it's nothing more than a digital notepad.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't get distracted.
Oh,
so you don't go, I'll just have a quick look at Instagram while I'm here.
Brilliant, Remarkable. Really, if you're listening to this,
you want one?
Yeah, I want one. And if you want to sponsor this podcast, then head over to Remarkable/CamTalks. But this is interesting, because
so I have an agent.
The iPad now has so much stuff on it, and it is a distraction, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we're moving back a little bit. Are we trying to find?
In a way, yeah, using the technology, but not in a way that overwhelms and you end up scrolling the whole time. So we shall see.
We will see.
Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, this is really exciting for me, because this is the first time I've ever spoken to anyone on Alderney about content creation and social media and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, I mean, I guess, would you ever consider bringing Alderney into Linda's life, or is it not the right audience, I guess?
No, it's not. And I don't put anything on my leadership coach Kate, which is the Instagram handle, and Kate Waterfall Hill, which is everything else. And then I have my own private stuff. So all my Alderney posts are in my private Instagrams, Instagram things. So I suppose I probably should, shouldn't I? It would be a good thing to do. Yeah.
I mean, even just go sit down on the beach, show you working from a beach. Linda goes on holiday but pretends she's still at work.
Exactly. Yeah. Or she's so important she can't not take her laptop to the beach. That's
that's
what
a
Linda
good
would
one.
Be. Yeah.
That is a good one, because part of the digital nomad generation is the fact that we're always working hard.
Oh yeah.
We're always working. And I was in Bangkok recently, and you go to these co-working spaces, and of course everyone's got their laptop open, looking really, really, and then there's like a mirror behind the guy's head, and I'm like, he's literally like scrolling through like random stuff, and I'm like, why does he look like he's working? I'm like, I know, it's a perception game. It
Yeah,
really is.
yeah.
But I mean, I'm getting a bit fed up of screens. I'm getting a bit fed up
Mm,
of just, you know, like I
yeah.
said, like with the AI sort of content and stuff. It is good, you know. I mean, when you scroll on a
Yeah,
video and now you know how to cut down a tree,
yeah.
and it was told you by like some AI
Yeah, yeah,
voice.
yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes, yeah.
But is there any advice for people who are getting to the burnout stage? I mean, you must have seen it before.
Yeah, a lot of it is about having boundaries, obviously, and deciding what your boundaries are. So that's the thing I often say to people is that if you name what you want, then you create the conditions for it to happen. So if you're feeling like you're burnt out, rather than just saying, "Oh my goodness, I'm so overwhelmed, I've got too much work to do, my boss is so demanding," and just going on that cycle of overthinking it and worrying about it and not doing anything, that's quite challenging. So actually, just spending 5 minutes saying, actually, what would I like my life to look like? What would I like to be able to say to my boss? Do I want to be able to say I'm not taking? I won't respond to any emails after 6 o'clock. Uh, if it's really urgent, then send me a WhatsApp. Otherwise, I'll get to it at 9 o'clock in the morning. Or there's another window of opportunity after I put the kids to bed, and I'll look at my emails
Mm,
again at 8 o'clock or whatever. But until you work out what you want to happen and name it, then it's quite difficult to set a boundary, and it's even more difficult, therefore, to keep the boundary. If you're just cross that you're having to work in the evening,
mm.
actually determine what it is you want your life to look like, and then make
How
that
do you
happen.
know what you want? I mean, is there any good exercises to figuring that out?
I hate to say it, but yes, there's my free leadership impact workbook.
Download it.
Yeah,
I will stick your links
yeah.
in all of our stuff. But I mean, yeah, like this is what coaching is about, isn't it?
It is,
You
yeah.
know, it's
It's about
like,
taking time to reflect, and often having a coaching session, whether it's in a group or a one-to-one situation, it's carving out time to reflect and have space to consider the stuff that your head is usually too busy to think about. So, if I said to you, if you were a busy business leader, uh, you could do with spending an hour a month just reflecting on what the months looked like previously, what the month coming looks like, and what you'd like to do differently. So just book an hour in your diary. And they'd go, yeah, yeah, yeah. And they'd book an hour in the diary, and then they wouldn't do it because something else had come up. They'd get distracted. They'd find something else more important to do. A meeting would get booked in. But if you have a meeting booked with a coach, you got to come
you got to come.
because you paid for it.
Well, that's it. Yeah. So before we finish this episode, I want to thank Bell & Co for sponsoring this podcast. If you're looking for a place to live on Alderney, whether it's renting or buying, go and visit Bell & Co. They have all the information about what's available on Alderney, and they can also guide you with some of the best things to do on the island. Go and visit bellandcoalderney.com, where you can escape to paradise. Whether you're a remote worker, a carer, or just want to raise a family in somewhere safe, Bell & Co is there to help you.
I suppose it's a bit like having a personal trainer, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Everyone could do exercise on their own. We could all
Yeah.
go for a run. Well, if you can run, you could all go, for a walk. You can have weights in your bedroom, but do we?
Mm.
Without that discipline of
Did you
having
see my weights over there?
I've got some in mind. And do you know, Friday's my weight day, and I haven't done it yet.
It's terrible, isn't it? Now they're looking at me like they're shaming me.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Okay. Well, I really like this because it is about skin in the game, isn't it?
yeah,
And if you're not willing to put to risk anything,
yeah,
then I'm not surprised that
yeah.
things don't change. What was it you're saying in your start to New Year video? Doing the same thing and expecting
Expecting a
different
different
results.
outcome. Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah. You've got
mad.
to change the input if you want a different output.
Changing the input. Well, I like this because I actually, when trying to decide whether to move to Alderney or not, it certainly wasn't under the list of good ideas. So instead, I wrote a list of 100 bad ideas, and of course, one of them was try and come here and start a little podcast.
Yeah,
Which in my head think, well, your audience is never going to be that big, but it's nice to it's
yeah,
just nice to know people more on this island.
yeah,
And I don't really care. You've got these big podcasters these days that are interviewing big guests,
yeah,
and I just like the fact that I get messages from people I know saying thank you, keep
yeah,
going,
yeah.
doing all that sort of stuff. I mean, that is the only reason why you feel good about staying up late editing videos, doing all this stuff. I mean, you must have quite a lot of congratulations these days with the
Yeah,
size of your audience.
I do actually, and I get lots of people saying, "Thanks for doing what you do. You've made me realise that my workplace was toxic and I needed to leave. I've left and I've now got a really good job with a really good boss. But if it wasn't for Linda, the bad manager, I wouldn't have realised."
Wow.
So I haven't, they've never paid me a penny. but literally my heart is full thinking, okay,
Oh.
I've done something good in the world in my life. If I look back on my career, that's what I often say to people as well. When you look, you get to the end of your career, even older than I am, and what do you want to look back on? Do you want to look back and say you contributed something, you changed people's lives for the better, you had a positive influence on the world, on your business or in your organization and in the people you worked with? Then, would that be a good thing? Yeah, obviously. Or do you want to be known as being bad-tempered, overly busy, running around like a headless chicken, snapping at people, being cross about things, not really knowing what the strategy is or having a clear vision? Nobody wants that. You want to be the good leader. You want people to say in your workplace obituary, "Oh, Cam, he was a really good person to work with. I really enjoyed his leadership. He listened to me. He made me feel good. He brought out the best in me. I had the best part of my career working for him." That's what people want. So that's what I'm hoping that I can
Oh,
do.
I would like that too. That would be great.
Yeah.
Talking of good leadership, I mean, you have also written books about this as well. So
A book, yeah.
so you have the guide, How to Lead, step-by-step guide for CEOs,
And founders and leaders.
and founders and leaders, and basically everyone. I find the people that don't understand social media, they don't want to sit there watching YouTube videos. They definitely don't want to transcribe a YouTube video and put it into AI to shortcut it. But a good old-fashioned book
Yes.
can always just tickle your fancy and make you learn something new. So that book is still available online.
Yep.
I'd like everyone to go and buy it.
Thank you very much.
And you can pay me later. No, don't worry, you won't get that many. But this is it. So what would your legacy be then? Talking about what you want people to remember you by. How would you want people to remember you?
Well, I suppose that to help people be a better leaders, so they can influence the people around them. And the reason why to me it's so important isn't about profit. It's not about efficiency and productivity necessarily, or those good things. The way I think about it is when your team member goes home and chats to their flatmate, their spouse, their kids, they will talk about you, their leader. They will say, so say you're the boss, you're John, Sue, whatever, will go home and say to his wife, "Oh, Cam's a good bloke," or "My boss is a nightmare." And their kids will go to school and say, "My daddy's got a really good boss," or "My daddy's got a nasty boss." And yet, so that's the responsibility we have as leaders. We make an impact on people's lives who work for us, and it's so important that we take that seriously and don't feel it as a burden, but as a privilege, that we can make a difference to how they feel about themselves, because our work is so important. So many people spend so many hours of their lives working, and to have a good boss who listens to them, who empathizes, who coaches, then advises, what a great thing to do. And to be able to lift people up and have them coming home from work saying, I did a good job today and my boss was a good person. Really important.
You just made me think. I want to know who is your favorite leader? Who are the leaders that you have inspired you the most?
Oh my goodness, that's a really good question I haven't really thought about. But I suppose the most important leader in my life is Marcus Robertson, because he gave me that first job. He gave me that promotion to managing director, and he's still a client of mine and a really good friend. And we speak to each other most days on WhatsApp. He's in Australia at the moment with his family, and yeah, he's been a really, really huge inspiration. I mean, I wouldn't say he's a perfect leader. he would.
Is anyone?
No, but he is passionate about what he does. He loves people. He wants to bring out the best in people. He's really good at identifying talent and doesn't mind about nurturing them. Not doesn't mind, that's the wrong phrase. He's really keen on nurturing talent, but also he's happy to share the spoils. He was always really generous. So he would always, if you were good at your job, he would let you, like he gave me share options, for instance, when I got promoted to managing director, changed my life. So so he's probably the pivotal person, I would say, the biggest role model.
I really like that.
Next to my dad, I have to say my dad.
Next to your dad.
Yeah.
This is all ringing so true for me, because whilst there is all the online gurus and people you can always say, oh, they're good, they're bad, it's the people in your own life that make the biggest impact on you, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
you see every day.
Yeah, and the people that you eventually become. I mean, I'm very happy that most of my business partner, most of my former clients have become some of my best friends.
Yeah.
And you think about that, you're like, well, why was that? It's like, oh, the startup failed or whatever. It's like, yeah, but you were always you. You were always trying to do your best, and in the end, that relationship mattered more
Yeah.
than the company.
Yeah, of course.
And
Yeah.
that's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, listen, Kate, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about? I mean, I know because normally, normally we kind of dive into your childhood and all this kind
Yeah.
of stuff,
Yeah.
but there's just so much value for people to listen to. And of course, if anyone on the island wants to get in touch with you, I mean, just go knock on your house, isn't it? Please, no one turn up to my house.
Yeah, don't turn up to my house. Yeah, that's why I like it here, because nobody. No, do you know what? I don't know that I would want to work with anybody on the island. I know that sounds a bit strange, and I've got the book, I've got the podcast. We're welcome to have those, and there's lots of digital products as well on my website. Online courses and stuff. But I think possibly going to the Georgian, having a skinful, and
No.
seeing a client opposite me is not a good idea. I quite like being anonymous here. I do get occasionally. It's not like I'm properly famous, but I do quite often get people coming up to me and saying, in the UK, I mean, say, actually, not even in the UK. So I had somebody in Rome say, "Oh, I know you from TikTok," and over here I've had it a few times too. But I can see now why Duncan Goodhue and other famous people who've lived here love it so much, is that nobody bothers, because nobody cares at Alderney, do they?
No.
That's what I love about it as well. It's very, very everyone's equal, aren't they? There's no hierarchy as such. So I like it like that.
It's beautiful, isn't
Yeah.
it? Well, look, I mean, I really hope that we can get people to come and move here, because
Yes.
I mean, I think you have to be a certain type of person to move to Alderney. I don't think it's for everyone, as
No.
we were talking about earlier. But the fact that the people that do move here,
Yeah.
they really get involved.
Yeah.
I'm always reminded by Trina from Adrift. I mean, her and her family moved here from Scotland. She set up the sauna. She took over Richard's to have a little pottery for the kids and stuff.
Amazing.
I'm like, look, that's just one person.
Yeah.
Imagine if 10 more people came. How much more vibrance and
Yeah.
stuff you get. You might get shouted at in the street, like, "Oi, Linda!
Exactly.
Some American, like, Linda, no, I'm not really Linda.
No, that's very true. Yes, in actual fact, at the duty free at Southampton this time, I was buying some stuff, and the sales assistant came up and said, "Oh, can I just ask, are you the woman from the internet?" And I said, "If you mean Linda, the bad manager, yeah, that's me."
Oh my
I thought
God.
so, and my colleague thought so, and she actually thought she recognised you, but then she knew it was you from your voice. And that apparently the voice is the stat, because Linda usually wears glasses.
Right.
So anyway, yeah.
That's hilarious, isn't it? Well, yeah. Don't worry. I'm sure you won't get
Yeah.
harassed or
No, I don't think so.
doxed.
No.
If anyone doesn't know what doxed is basically giving away your address.
Yes.
So actually, maybe we should dox ourselves. Come to Alderney.
Yeah.
Yeah, we live on Alderney. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, okay. So, any final advice, considering the fact that being a young person on the island, trying to get involved in stuff. I mean, what advice would you give to someone like myself?
I think keep going with the enthusiasm and the creativity and the entrepreneurial spirit that you've got, which is great. It's really, really good to see, and we need more people like that. And as you were talking about, the Trine with the drift, that's the entrepreneurial spirit that I think Alderney needs. And in terms of social media and stuff, you just got to keep at it, keep going, and try to get that sort of, I don't know what it is, that sort of some secret sauce that just resonates with people somehow, and you'll get it.
Do you not ever get sick of social media though?
Funnily enough, I don't actually. No, it's really strange. I go occasionally. I go through slightly sort of don't feel like it phases. But what I tend to do is batch create. So I do a whole load of videos in one go and then just release them.
I love
so it's
that.
fine, yeah.
You are such a modern influencer.
I am even at my old age. Yeah.
But it's amazing,
Yeah.
and I can see why.
Yeah.
Coming from a marketing background,
Yeah.
you're like, oh my God, look at this.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to be a TV presenter, so this is my own little version of small screen.
I love that. Yeah. People used to say to me, "Oh, you should always be in front of the camera," and I'm like, well, I am.
Yeah.
But you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So on that note, everyone go and subscribe.
Subscribe.
To my channel, but also Kate's channel, which is
Yeah.
very, very informative. And where can we find out more about you as well? You have a website?
Oh yes, absolutely. Everything in the world is Kate Waterfall Hill. So if you just Google Kate Waterfall Hill, if you want to, you can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. What have I missed? YouTube.
What other ones? And what other ones are? I mean, Snapchat.
No,
We're not we're not we're
don't
not
do
that we're
Snapchat.
not young enough.
No,
We're not
no,
young
and
enough.
my audience,
Yeah.
that's
Do,
not
so
who I'm after.
do your
I'm
kids use I mean they're
not
22
they're
and
old for it now, I think. Yeah, I
that's
think they
mad,
used
isn't
to. I
it?
think they used to use Snapchat,
They
but I don't
grew
think
out
so
of
much.
it.
Yeah,
How do we even know what the
Instagram,
kids
I
are
think.
using these days?
Yeah, yeah,
We have to go and talk to them.
yeah, yeah. Maybe have a conversation.
Funny that, isn't
Yeah,
it? Wow.
yeah,
Well, look, Kate,
yeah.
thank you very, very
You're
much
welcome.
indeed for coming on the show. And yeah, hopefully we can do some stuff on Alderney together in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, why don't you be in a Linda video?
I would do it.
Yeah, because I have other characters in the Linda videos and I just filter myself. So I have William, who's her boss, who has white hair and a white beard, and then Jason, who's got ginger hair and a black beard, and Alice, who's got pink hair. But you could
Love
be another
it.
character in
I
one of the
love it. I would
videos.
love to do that. I'd be more
Excellent.
than
We'll do
happy.
that.
Should we batch produce 20 of them today?
Yeah, let's do it.
I mean, literally, because that's how easy it is, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
And you never know which one will go viral.
Yeah.
Well, if it does go viral, then I want kickback.
Well, we'll just do it as a collaboration, and then we'll both get it.
There you go.
You
There you
see,
go.
I've got all the lingo. I know
You
everything.
really do.
I really do.
You really do. We honestly, it's been so inspiring to talk about this. Anyone who's got to this point of the episode,
Exactly, who's not fallen asleep.
yeah, exactly. When you're speaking to marketeers,
Yeah.
a marketer and a marketeer talking to each other, it's a bloody nightmare, isn't it? It really is. But
Yeah.
hopefully, you got some people got some value out of that, and of course, the short clips are all we care about.
Yeah.
You know, they've had over 350,000 views in the last 4 months, and you
Yeah.
think that's just about Alderney, just
Yeah.
clips about Alderney. So
Oh, great stuff. Great
we're going to
stuff.
keep going. We're going to
Keep
keep
doing what
going.
you're doing. You're doing a great job.
Thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome.
Look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Great. Thanks, Cam.